So, and here we go again. A warm welcome to my next LinkedIn Live. And I'm very happy that Dirk Assmann Stout is a part of the stream. Warm welcome, Dirk.
Thank you very much.
Nice to have you here. I have met you on LinkedIn through your newsletter about leadership. And then I found the topic, what you've been talking about there, so interesting that I said, this is worth for deeper exploration. And let's do a LinkedIn Live together. And we are going to talk about the topic, who is leading when everybody has free access to information nowadays. So warm welcome, the stage is yours. Could you please introduce yourself briefly and then we start the discussion.
Thank you very much for the invitation before. Thank you very much. It was nice to work with you on that. So yes, I'm a boomer from 62, and my life started with an education as a banking apprentice. And mid of 80s, I started into IT, founded my first company, ERP on Macintosh. Back then, that was really a hype. We were just one of three in Germany back in the mid of 80s. We sold our code back then, and we started then studying, all of us. I studied computer science, finished that. And in that term, in the finishing term, we started our next company on that, ERP. I started with Macintosh, then overall databases, stuff like that. And we grew the company to 35 people. Then I sold my share again due to some change of my life. I then did an education as a family therapist. So I became a therapist, 3.5 years education. And after this, I started into the industry, was 12 years in industry in different positions. My rank was like head of, the largest scale was 80 people international. And then again, a change of my career. I became a coach, self-employed again, now for 8 years. And at this time, I've been working quite with lots of people and still working with lots of people. Founded my own publishing company in 22 because I write books, quite a few of them already on the market, and decided to sell them myself. So there's a publishing company. And nowadays, I work with two major partners together in terms of executive coaching, job coaching in a widest sense. And why I'm sitting here, and probably that was the thing where Václav came over to see what is the guy doing since the over 3 years now, I'm very deeply into AI. And I like to refer myself as an AI augmented coach. I don't do anything without AI. I fully incorporate all my methods and my work into AI. I use it in my coaching, I teach it. And I do webinars internationally on the impact of AI to organizational structures. And this is actually the point where we came together.
Exactly. Thank you for the intro. And as we already pre-discussed it, in the past decades, it was basically all about access to information. So the guy who knew more basically was the leader. And that's the topic of today. And let's put it a little bit backwards to the old setup. Let me see, 60s, 70s, 80s, where for decades the organization built hierarchies. Why did they build the hierarchies in the first place?
Actually, we could go back like in the end of the 19th century when the first large-scale companies evolved, and where there is so much information on the base that it need to be, if somebody wanted to decide anything, the information needed to be compiled down. So we had a urgent need to recompile information in lower bits, so that the one who is deciding, or whoever is doing that, has a brief overview. And hierarchy, the main task of hierarchy was not to lead, but to recompile information on a more and more dense way. That's basically what's happening today too. So in the middle rank, you get information, you recompile it with your own viewpoint, and then give the information up to the next level until the level is reached where a decision is made. And every level has a certain amount of security layer, we might put it like that. This is the layer is the viewpoint layer, if you want to say that. The higher you climb, it seems like the analogy to mountains, the more you can see. But the less informed you are, because the pyramid cuts away information on the path up. Like it's for the sea level. We need to condense it down. Just a management decision page, like 2 sentences.
In summary, yeah.
Yeah, right. And so on the baseline, there are loads of information, and then the information, the decision process trickles up, and in the end, we have just 2 lines.
Mm-hmm.
So the person highest up is the person least informed, if you want to put it like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the person on the top is the one who has the highest responsibility to make decisions, which is interesting because this person is doing probably information decisions, a decision on not really well-informed stance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's actually the base. That is as it is like now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, certain things in between, but yeah.
Just a short remark for our spectators or listeners. Please, if you have any questions, post those on LinkedIn. I don't have access to the LinkedIn stream because I sit now in the StreamYard studio, but I can display it in front of the screen and read it loud. So I know that many people are listening to this and doing exercise or running or rowing, whatever, and then they can answer it. So, okay, thank you for this intro. So what role did access to information play then in deciding who is leading?
Well, leading is part of the role you gain. And usually we would go and climb up a ladder due to the experience and the knowledge we experienced in our lives. So this is the assumption, the baseline. You learn lots, you have lots of experience, so you probably are better for the next stage. You might remember the Peter Principle. Peter was a socialist, I think, or economist some time ago, and he wrote the book that you will be climbing up the hierarchical ladder one by one until you reach the point where you are incompetent.
I made this experience myself. Yeah.
So we have that situation, and there is another aspect in this decision-making role. The quality of information crosses another line, the quantity of politics within hierarchy. So there are certain graphs where it is even more important that you conform to some internal politics for the fight for the next level or whatever that is, rather than to use the best information for the best decision. So these things are well documented and well known, and many people I know, I've been talking to, the executives I'm talking to say, yeah, it's always a hard fight but it's about the fight, it's not about the decision. Mm-hmm. And now we have the situation that AI comes into the picture. And thinking about this on a more broader way, not like most of the people do it, which at least most of the people I meet, still use it like ChatGPT, what's the next shrimp's recipe?
Yeah, man.
Well, it's often that. Quite a few of the people I'm working with are better on a higher stage of information. So how do I work with? And I really do work with that. Mm-hmm. And I strongly recommend to everyone to get very accustomed to do that. So what do corporations do with AI actually? And that's the main question, which is highly discussed. And this is actually the great market which is out there, but also the market with the largest impact on work and mostly on hierarchy. Mm-hmm. We always talk about the entry level, that AI is taking entry level stages away, or even blue collar people and robotics and such. Everything is well discussed and everybody is going around. But I guess the mid-management is the first to be hit hard.
Yes.
That's my impression. Mm. Based on the assumption that if you want to really use the abilities of an AI, you must not treat it as a standard software project, which we have used over the past 40 years, something like that. Mm-hmm. Where we build silos and try to get the information there and there and there. And so lots of tasks we do in the middle management is like gathering information and pushing information further. This is like information up and down and sideways. This is a lot of tasks we do in meetings, getting up to speed to any projects and such. So this takes lots of time, costs lots of money, and has the opportunity for lots of errors. This is well known. We know that. And everybody out there being on a however higher level, mid-level, whatever, knows that it's true. So AI is really great in two things: working with a large amount of data and recognition pattern. Mm-hmm. That's undiscussed. Whatever we else see, what all you can do with AI agents and multi-class agents and whatnot, but this is the base thing that it does awfully well. And if you have all the information of your company in one system, in addition to historical information, EA, errors made before and don't want to do again, and then you use this AI on every level, ask for a decision process, then the decision becomes fully transparent. And the lowest guy can ask the best questions, and the highest one the least good. And then it becomes tricky.
So what does it mean for the organization, and how do you justify the classical hierarchy which we have now, when almost everyone will have access to the same information? And this is, in my naivety, I would say it would lead to a flat hierarchy. And I can imagine that you, I find it very fascinating that you are an IT person who then developed into a therapist and then into a coach. So you are for sure in your practice as a LinkedIn top voice and executive coach and so on, you are for sure confronted with a lot of anxieties just around this topic. So
Yes.
how do you perceive this? So what is going to happen with the classical hierarchy we have in the companies now?
Well, the skills you need to stay in leadership, and I always use, I'm currently working on my book on this issue, and I only refer to leadership because management is the other side, is actually, if you think it through, not needed anymore, because managing facts and data, this is something the AI will do. So what will stays there? What will be needed as a skill in an era where information is open to everyone and the decision you make is transparent. Everybody knows you decided and on what base of information you decided. This is a capital change of what we see currently. We know about decision-making process because there are decisions made, but very often the layers below the decision-making don't really know on what base what information this decision was actually made. And there is this ceiling, which is sometimes, that's not your pay grade. I hate this sentence, it's awful. But I guess more or less many people have already known that. This is just the telling that I know more than you and therefore my decision is better. But that's completely wrong, because decision-making has lots of aspects in there. And one part is to have the right data. So if we have a pyramid like now, I assume this is just, well, you have to adopt a corporate AI into your company, and then the pyramid will do this. As you said before, it's not going to be a flat line. This is not going to happen. But the skill set you will need, besides of your experience, and beside of being educated, still educated, because I think this is very important. Education means learn how to think in a base way, not to accumulate lots of knowledge. So people will now have to concentrate on the ability to openly stand for the decision, being the bearer of the consequences, and this in a culture which has a very good error culture in itself. Because if I make an error based on the AI and the team decision, which we do together, then more or less together, someone has to carry the hat, as we always say. And if it's wrong, then you would have to degrade all of the teams and the AI with it. So this is one of the big changes. And the feeling that when I discuss with executives, whatever, I have lots of pharma currently. And Václav and all, we discussed this before. Yeah, this is currently a strange market out there, a difficult market, and AI pushes the complexity up quite a few notches. And it's not because it is already everywhere there, but the expectations are so high that everybody waits with new jobs and hirings, because I fear that I hire you in vain because AI will take it over.
Exactly. This is my classical saying that we behave like a rabbit in front of a snake. You know, we sit and are procrastinating happily and hoping that something is happening like a magic, but it's not. So this is another leadership task. I can imagine that this increased transparency to and access to data might feel threatening for many leaders. How do you see it in your daily practice? And you as a psychologist, you, as I already said before, you have to be confronted with many people who are basically anxious that they losing their status, lost their job probably as well, and try to do something, find something else is difficult. The market is competitive like hell. So how do you see this threatenings?
Well, he comes in sort of my sweet spot, being a therapist myself and looking on different layers. I just had an executive, and is highly successful, very intelligent, he's in the age of 40 already a director international. It's not pharma, it's another branch. And he asked me, I sent out job applications like for 1 year, I don't even get invited. So on the assumption is currently that he says, yeah, I have reached a layer which is so high already that nobody takes me. I'm 40, and actually, if I would go on a lower layer, nobody would believe me. Said, yeah, probably this might be part of the thing, but I think you miss something else. You have not transformed into your full personality yet. All you do is based on facts and intelligence and doings. But the next step would be getting a more authentic person. And this is something we actually don't do. Nobody goes to therapy just for fun. We always state that doing a therapy is about illness or healing, which is completely wrong. It's about growing.
Yeah.
Maybe growing out of a unhappy situation. That might be the starting point. But as I experienced, 3.5 years of education as a therapist is a going into yourself. Hardcore.
Yeah. I strongly believe this, Dirk, and this going to therapist or therapy has sort of still like the negative label. Yeah. And I'm someone who went through a massive depression 8 years ago, and I couldn't imagine that I ever get out of this. And it suddenly happened. We have to talk about this openly and get rid of this label or therapy. If you look at the human population, basically 90% of the people should go through a therapy. And I see hundreds of people the same as you. And not only psychotherapy, but as well physiotherapy. Everybody needs stretching. We are stiff. We are not moving. We are hiding our scars. We are swallowing down our frustrations, all of this. So we should get rid of this label. Oh, he's sick in his head. He goes to it. No, I see the same way. Everything what I went through made me grow and be a better human person, better coach, better leader, better father, better husband.
It is something which I more and more experience in my coachings, and it might be because I emphasize this. I say, okay, open, let's talk about that. And going out to leadership trainings or what I do webinars for executives on AI impact on structure, where a growing number of people are very interested into coming to and just see what is demanded of myself. And what we see is that it's much more about personality and much less about status, education, knowledge, whatever status things we really think it is important. And this is something really difficult because we are trained, and especially the Mittelstand in Germany and in other countries obviously too, is still believing the telltale that learn lots and then you will get a good job. And AI is attacking this area massively. We don't see it yet, that's hard, but it's coming. Because a corporate AI implemented into a structure knows more than you, offers more pattern than you ever could.
Yeah.
But what you need to learn is how to frame and keep the team. How can we work together? It's much more on the personal side.
Yeah.
How can I strengthen the people to make better decisions? I am the one who decides. I want my team behind me. This is completely different. I'm not on the peak of a mountain and I do this decision. No, it's a team much more than a rather one person or one woman decision that's coming. This is going to change. And this change removes lots of the things what I thought would be granted after, let's say, going to study, then PhD, and then
MBA, blah, blah, yeah.
Doing all the things. I guess you will need them still, because you need to have the mindset of thinking. But it's not anymore about knowledge, pure knowledge and pure experience. Because you, Václav, in my profession, and if you had the same access to the AI, you would ask from another viewpoint the same question, and maybe your output would be much better than mine. Although I would be the professional in my part.
Yeah, let's spend some moment on this, because this is very, very important. You mentioned already a few points, but let's discuss what kind of capabilities will the future leader, middle manager, higher manager, whatever, need to survive this shift. What kind of qualities do we have to look for? Which advice are you giving your kids, for example?
Well, the first time, now my kids are 26 and 29, and one is already working. The other one is in finishing her master currently. And I try to push them forward using AI as an augmentation of their abilities. That's the first step anyways, to accept that decision-making processes will all in future probably always augmented by AI. In my newsletter, I always have a comic into. There's always a robot sitting in the team as a built picture that probably you have in your mobile on your laptop. So accept that AI is an essential part of your decision-making process, which means you need to learn to communicate completely different. AI is not Word where you say bold, italic, on, off. It works completely different. And if you're not used to that, you will obviously fall in the trap to think, okay, AI got it always right.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
So you need to train to communicate with the AI, understand where its boundaries are, and how to rephrase and re-argue with the AI until you really got an answer when you say, okay, I think that's feasible. And then you need to be able to decide against AI. And that is something which does need a certain stance. That's new. Because if we have an intense data information and everybody says, that's the data, you have to rely on it and say, my gut feeling says no. And you can say, I think it's going to happen the other way around. Then you have to stand for it. And that is in the bright light of the midday sun.
You know, this reminds me of the discussion with my dad. My dad was attending, he was born in 1930. So he attended the classical gymnasium, so high school with 6 years of ancient Greek and 8 years of Latin. And yeah, so I remember the discussion with him, and he was someone who was a very, very strong in critical thinking. So he was already like debunking and demasking what's going on. It was easy in the communist system and everything was lie and fake. But I think those guys, and my dad was complaining, our education was already bad compared to the guy in the 30s, because we have shortages, war, not enough coal, you cannot cool the classes. So the education was much worse. But still, I think this kind of guys with their level of critical thinking would be better equipped for the current situation than the generation leaving the schools today. What do you think about it?
Yeah, very much agree. I just heard a new podcast this morning, and it's a very interesting guy from Russell Reynolds, chief invention or chief science officer, the new one. Told me, I don't know the name. And he said one sentence, I think, therefore I am. Now we are, but we don't think anymore. And that's exactly what's happening here. The greatest mistake would be to hand over to the AI. And what do we have in contrary? The decision-making process is the essential process of all we do. But there's the ripples around this decision-making, and we have to convince people, and we have the people on our side. We have to stand for it. We have to carry the consequences. AI will never carry the consequences of my decision, never will. And I use a nice idea, and I hope that there are not strong Star Trek fans in the crowd here. Tell me otherwise, but being a science fiction fan and a fantasy novel writer, I am. I write those books too for my hobby. The AI on board of Star Enterprise is always there, but never present. it's very interesting to see that fact that AI is there, because they always say, computer, do this and that. And it does that. It delivers all the information, all the abstracts, gives cases, and you calculate it. But they always sit in the team room, the humans or the other ones, the Vulcans, and whoever sits there, and they discuss it in their faces, and then they decide. But the AI is overpowerly there.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be something we would preferably go to. That would be a really nice stance. And decision making, and the German word is Haltung, and have values, authenticity. I read this more and more from people from HR and AI area. They say we need more authenticity, which stands against the AI. Everybody says AI does it better. No, it doesn't.
Yeah, because the temptation is big to get very complacent. You put something here, get the output, because nowadays you can generate classes for coaching in 10 minutes. You have everything. So I just prompted the correct way. Still, and I'm not afraid here, because people would love to see a human being with some, life experiences, somebody who's been in the trenches of the business, and not to talk only to a system which might know all books and references to all Dirk's books and everything in his head and so on. So but I see it myself sometimes, how quickly we get into something. We pick something, oh, okay, this is answer good. No, I learned to challenge everything and never accept the first answer, never. Today I work with Claude and ChatGPT against each other. That's
same. I do that same. Yeah, exactly.
So we have a first comment from Anna Bodanovsky. I read it loud. Perhaps life has become too easy in a way. Even in biology, the pressure to survive made organisms to evolve and adapt. How can this pressure be created in the industry?
Well, I would assume that the market pressure, which is a law in itself, pushes many companies in a new form. If the large-scale companies realize that new-scale startups can close this gap of knowledge and intelligence within a shortest break of time, it was always the other way around. If you had 40 years of development advantage and the supply chain set up and everything was set up, then you couldn't be reached. It's just because you have all the surroundings. Nowadays, if you have a very smart AI, you can build up with your agents such a scale of supply and anything that the large ones will become really heart attacked. So they need to adopt. And there are quite a few of large-scale corporate AI projects. I think it was BACD, the bank. I think it was Nestlé. Nestlé does something like that. Huge scale, really huge scale. They make their experience. They have their failures. They adopt to the market. They want to have that AI. Because they realize that's the advantage. Because if I don't have that advantage, the other ones will be 40% more effective, more productive, and faster than I am. Definitely will be. So the pressure will probably not be created by the industry itself, because, and that's something I'm in fear of, unconsciously, I would say like that, the middle management will prevent AI as much as possible.
Yeah, and it's logical, How was the sort of the people called when they, I forgot the name, there's a French term of when they destroyed the machines to save their jobs in the...
in the French, right.
Yeah, there will be for sure, but at the end, sooner or later, you get wiped out. Why is the middle management the most endangered species?
It's the hardest to get to. It's the payment is middle management. You have lots of education, you fight hard, you climb up the ranks, you earn more money, you build your social status, and our culture, our capitalist neoliberal culture asks, you have to be productive, you have to ride, you have to have the bigger house, the bigger car, the bigger consumed sphere. So this is what we put our pride into. So we try to get higher and higher. Now suddenly, the industry, and I like to think that it starts already, the industry doesn't pay these wages anymore.
Yeah.
They simply don't do it anymore. And currently we have the experience, and Václav and I, we just discussed before, you get fired with a 160K or 200K, and then you find a job for 100 or 80 or 90.
Yeah.
It's currently like that. So all the status, the telltale of the higher you get, you better will become breaks together. It's just simply dissolves slowly. And what do you do then?
On the other hand, this opens again a way for talent which is hidden in the organization, which doesn't have the right diploma to get to the point. Because I have two particular cases for people with, we would say, in the classical arrogance of a pharmacist, no education. So one was a waitress, the other one was a baker. And both of them has been much smarter than me, and basically have no chance to grow in the organization because you don't have the right diploma. If you have the particle intelligence who can challenge structure, for one of the person you can put there on the paper the most complicated design of a clinical trial. It took me 1 hour to understand the design, with helping with different highlighters and colors and crossover and blah, blah, blah. She looked at it in 2 minutes and everything was clear. And those people are today lost. They stay in the assistant level and they never grow, even if they know much better than any PhD. How do you see this? Do you see chances for people without classic diploma and education to take over or to be the new leaders?
Honestly, it depends on the openness of the structure. That should be the answer, because if the structure still stands and tries to fight back its status, which is very likely, then two things will happen. AI will not get implemented the way it should be to get the advantages. We will make silo projects, test projects, and keep them like that, and we will push them away. So nothing going to happen. And there is another status thing. So I studied, I have a PhD, so how could this baker do better decisions than I do? This is an arrogance in the system, and we try to prevent that anybody breaks my position. That's understandable, because I had to fight. That's the day. We woke up, we grew up like this, and we were told that's the path, it's believed. So in my coachings, and that's the reason why being a therapist gives me another ankle. And we talk much more about personal things than just, oh, we need a new CV or a better strategy to find the next job. This is part of it. But I go into much more individual things in my coachings than maybe somebody would expect hiring me. But then afterwards they say, it was really helpful because I got a new stand. I understand myself better and I understand better what the next step will be. And if it's less salary, then it's more sense in work.
Yeah. This is exactly my case. I am earning now much less than I was having in my middle management of artist days, but I'm triple happy. So
that's the same on my house. Exactly. Yeah.
What this leads me to a question. You mentioned something important. What do the leaders nowadays need to unlearn going through the process? What things need to people let go?
It's tricky because it depends on the level and such, but I think we need to become much more people-wise. We have to be much more in the people. There is a similarity which came to my mind when I worked on my book. Have you been in this new work race 10 years ago, 8 to 10 years? We were talking about new work and how we should diminish every layer, and everybody was working in teams, and it was really lovely. And new work didn't come to pass because it was a nice to have. And the idea was back then to lower the layers and get together and work on the personal side. And one of the ideas was that if you, Václav, are better in project planning and I would be better in, let's say, stakeholder management, and we had a project which would put maybe much more in the stakeholder management, Václav, you would say, Dirk, you are the leader in that. And if it's the thing what's yours, but I would say, Václav, you're the leader in that. And I work for you in this project. There is no upper and lower level anymore, because the decision making is you would have the right way to look at the data and use AI better than I could, because my side would be probably different. So, and now, since new work back then was a nice to have, and therefore because the market pressure and the growth pressure, well, it forbade, it was nice to have, and happy people No, we don't pay for happy people. We pay for delivering productivity. And today, interesting enough, AI forces the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
We flatten the hierarchy because the knowledge doesn't need to be condensed anymore, and we don't have to need of all these meetings anymore because AI has the information all there. Yes, there is special silos which I will not be allowed to ask for the salary of Václav or something like that. So there might be some silo AIs in certain department, but the backbone, everything, major things will be in one AI, and everybody knows everything.
There is a fun that came me. You brought me to the idea. There is a company from Czechia who is called LuderOne, and they developed a tool which is like an inner company Facebook, and they assessing all the communication between the people in the tool, and you can give and it's like constant feedback, constant feedback loop. So not only once a year, but you can give your subordinates feedback, your bosses feedback, whatever. You can do it openly, you can do it in an anonymous way, and the system reads it, and with AI raising red flags, hey guys, you are in a big risk of X people are going to terminate, your major talent is going to leave. Amazing thing. And this is already like 4 years on the market. It's fantastic. It looks really tempted. It looks way better than Facebook and everything. This made me, this would be something which will help with the decision making as well. So this was a short advertisement for my homeland. Now we are on the minute 37, which is unbelievable. I have the feeling we just started, which is all the time a good feeling that the discussion doesn't get boring. I have the feeling we can easily discuss another hour, but I have a stop at 4 o'clock, so we need to drive it home slowly. Let's look into future. So if you would have a crystal ball, Dirk, so what will justify leadership in this situation through 5-10 years from now?
First, you will be an AI augmented leader. In your CV is not Word or Microsoft Office anymore. There is fluent use of AI functionality and models for the tasks at hand. Because there's not only one big model, there are hundreds of models and thousands of solutions in AI. So you are fluent in using that. No decision making without AI will probably be the norm. You will have a complete different understanding of status. Even if you were in a decision-making layer higher than others, you are pretty much the same as everybody else, because everybody could ask the same questions and get better answers. So you will always listen to everybody. So meetings are much more on an exchange of what is the better solution for the problem, and rather than I know better than you and I will ask you and go ahead. So you will need to learn a complete, more social, personal idea. There was an article by Boston Consulting, I think it was already in 24, where they said they put up the 70-20-10 rule for AI projects, and we were used, I was in that area too, large ERP systems, 70% was the cost of the software implementing, blah. Nowadays, there's just 70% of internal cost for an AI project goes into the persons. People training. 20% infrastructure, 10% AI. So completely turned around. And for us as software guys, we always think, no, it can't be, but it is the better way.
So we have a question, Lily, thanks a lot. The question that I have in my mind for a while now, how do I show the company that I apply for that I have the qualities that are needed now in a world of AI? If certificates and diploma lose their meaning, what else is there? Would I focus on and showcase the abilities I learned along the way of my education and life?
Well, just to say before, nobody wonders that this person has the same name as I. This is my younger daughter, and she happily applied here too. So thank you very much, Lily, for the question. And we discussed this anyways. I think you have to dive into now strongly in the use of AI and look broader than just that we use ChatGPT or Gemini or whatnot. So you would have to dive in go on conferences, learn what AI solutions, special AI solutions are compiled for your path, go strongly into that, learn what they provide and adapt it to your work. Because, well, I know now what my daughter is studying, so I will not disclose it here, but you can see her on LinkedIn if you like to. Model making on large data is something which is probably automatic the fastest, and you have to go down. Certificates is currently a bit tricky because it's difficult to distinguish who does good certificates. That's my feeling currently. We have hundreds and hundreds, thousands of offerings there, and I don't know what's good and what not. The best thing is start yourself. We are still in a phase of uncertainty and moving out there. So it's the time to learn yourself, to get into that. And that's the best thing you can do. And then you will be able to say, okay, now I need that specialized education. That would be my answer.
Yeah, if we go in this direction, what do you think? Will then leadership in the end get more human or more technical?
More human, definitely. You have to become more human because you have to have the ability to really expose yourself to a team, to people with different opinions, and still be the one who decides and to frames the situation, to keep the security for the people around. So this is much more a getting together, keeping the people together, working together. That's the thing you have to learn. It's not a sole decision-making layer somewhere else. It gets more human, actually. Yes, must.
Let's hope for it.
Yeah, I think so. Because think of the Star Trek analogy. You will have it on your side, and it will help you immediately, but you will have to decide, and you will decide with your fellows. On the back of they say yes. We decide. You decided that we understand. We are on your side. That's what's going to happen most. But then there is no "I'm above you" anymore. You have to be authentic and able to do that.
Yeah. And I think this is a very, very beautiful closing statement. Let's stay authentic, human. I tell it all the time. Use AI, please, but stay a human. Yes. Even if you have the best output of the AI, try to do something with it that only you are able to do so. Don't copy and paste, and use your emotional and your human intelligence, because this is something which cannot be replaced that quickly by artificial. Learn about other cultures. Try to understand how people think in Japan. Try to understand the Chinese point of view. Don't stay closed in your own social bubble. Expose yourself to other ideas and try to learn critical thinking, because this is, in my eyes, the only, because at the end, what is there for human beings, and this is not my ideas, this was my digital marketing partner who said it to me like 3 years ago, Václav, the only quality of mankind is to be able to ask the right questions.
Yes, I agree.
And the answers are all there already. Yeah, it was a big pleasure having you. Thank you so much. It was such a great discussion. I could continue for another 30 minutes easily, but we can easily redo it once again when your book is out, so we can look to your book, whatever. And the situation is so dynamic and so evolving that I'm pretty sure that in 6 months from now, we will see more impact. We will see things developing, going in some direction, hopefully in a good one. So thank you all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your comments. Let's stay for a moment in the stream, and I'm going to close the session now. Thank you guys for being with us. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Václav, for the invitation. Thank you to everyone who's listening. Thank you. So I got the sun in my face.